Hello and welcome back. So in this point here, I would actually want us to see how we can use the approximate match when it comes to the XLOOKUP. So in this point, it will be the approximate tax rate for this point here because we are dealing with the tax rates. And in this point, it will be the approximated grade. So approximate tax rate, yes. And it will actually look for the equal or the next larger. We have actually seen for the equal or next smaller. So what we actually do mean in this point is that, yes, we have the sales in this point here and we have the tax rates here. So our sales in this point is actually equivalent to 250,000. You can clearly check that I do not have 250,000, but instead I have 201. But instead I have 200,001 and I also do have 400,001. So 250,000 is actually in between these two. So what does approximate So what does equal or next larger do? So let's actually check that. Now, before you actually proceed, I would actually request you to subscribe to this YouTube channel and also get to follow me on my X account here so that you can build the biggest X platform when it comes to data analytics. Now, let's actually go. So in this point here, yes, we'll say X lookup like that. Then we actually open. This is actually the lookup value on G21, comma. This lookup value is actually located in this lookup array. So the lookup array is actually G12 to G18, comma, and we would actually want to return the tax rate. So select the tax rate like that because that's what we would actually want to return, comma. It will ask you for if not found. In our case, we do not actually want to. In our case, we are not actually focusing on customizing the output. No. So add another comma so that you can actually skip that. Yes, this is basically what we needed. So we have actually seen the exact match or next smaller item. And now I want us to check on the exact match or next larger item. That's the next larger item. So double click on it like that. Then you close. And the moment I hit enter, this is what will actually happen. So you can actually check that our sales is actually equivalent to 250,000. So we do not have 250,000 here. Yes, so 250,000 is supposed to be 250,000 is actually supposed to be in between these two. And because 250,000 is in between these two here, we have to return the tax rate for the next larger sales. That's why we are actually calling it approximating by using the next larger item. So the next larger in this point here is not 200,001. No, the next larger is actually 400,001 because 250,000 is in between these two. So the next larger is actually 400,001. And the tax rate for 400,001 is actually equivalent to 5%. So hit enter on the keyboard, 5%. So let's actually check for the next one. So X lookup like that, open. This is actually the lookup value on G22, comma, the lookup array. So the lookup array is actually here for the sales, that's G12 to G18, comma, the return array. We would actually want to return the tax rate like that, comma. If not found, we are not actually focusing on customizing the output. So add another comma so that we can come to this point here. So exact match or next larger item. Double click on it like that. Then you close the XLOOKUP function. So 465,000, you can actually check that 465,000 is actually in between 400,001 and 600,001. So it's actually in between 5% and 6%. So because it's actually in between, we will actually return the tax rate for the next larger item. So after 400,001, the next one is actually 600,001, and the tax rate is actually equivalent to 6%. Enter on the keyboard 6%. Now that's it. So in this point here, I would actually want you to get me the templates so that I can actually design for you all the templates and manage it for you every month. So for designing and management every month, that one will actually be $50. I can also design for you these other templates in cheaper prices. So personal finance templates, inventory templates, HR templates, sales performance templates, all those kinds of templates. You can just get me the work and I design for you perfectly. Down here, you can also check that I'll be receiving projects from your end. So get me all the projects so that I can actually solve that work for you. So in this point here, we have the monthly subscription. That's the cloud in Excel prompting, dashboards and charts, automation, pivot tables and models, Power BI, financial forecast, templates management, all this per month, $550. You can also get me the one-time task, for example, the AI-powered dashboard designs, analysis and insights, smart macros, enhanced Power BI reports. These are actually the prices, $150 to $300. Very cheap, and I'll actually be glad to help you solve your problems. Now on this end here, you will actually realize that I have the courses here. So my site is actually on hold, and it will be live very soon. It will be back. So before we are actually back, I will also allow you to access all these courses here. You can actually check that I have about 20 courses on Microsoft Excel. So these courses will actually take you from the basic level or the beginner level here all the way to the intermediate level and to the advanced level. Now imagine getting all this for $100 when the deal should actually be $945. One of the biggest bargains, right? So to communicate with me on the templates, on the projects, and on the courses, this is actually my email. So reach me out so that you can actually talk. Now let's actually check for the approximate grades. So in this point here, approximating the grades by using the next larger score. So it's equivalent to XLOOKUP like that. Then you actually open, it will ask you for the lookup value, which is actually on L21, and that score array where we have the lookup value is actually on L12 to L18. Another comma, the return array where we have the grades, we would actually want the grades to be returned. So we have the grades from M12 all the way to M18, comma. It will ask you for if not found. In this point here, I'm not actually interested on customizing the output. No. So add another comma. It will ask you for exact match, or next smaller item, or exact match, or a next larger item. In this point, we are exact match or next larger item. So double click on this point here, and then you actually close the XLOOKUP function. So you can actually check that we do not have a score of that 7, but we do have that 1 and 41. So for that one, it's actually a D. For 41, it's actually a C. So because that 7 is actually in between these two, it will return for the next larger item. So after that 7, the next score here is actually 41. Yes, so 41, the grade for that 41 is actually equivalent to a C. Hit enter the keyboard. Now you can actually check it's a C. So come to this point again, XLOOKUP like that. Then you actually open. This is actually my lookup value on L22, comma, my lookup array where we have the scores. So this is actually the score array like that, comma, the return array where we actually do have the grades. So this is actually the grade array like that. Then comma, it will ask me for if not found. So add another comma to skip that. And in this point, we are actually interested on exact match or next larger item. So double click on it like that. Then you just double click on it like that. Then you just have to close the XLOOKUP function. So 67 is actually in between 61 and 75. So in between 60, so it's actually in between 61 and 75. So we will actually return the next larger item. So after 67, the next larger item in our case is actually 75. And the grade for 75 in our case is actually A+. Enter on the keyboard, A+. So that's it. Now let's actually check the next video.